What is flowing, everybody? This is Peril Pilot. Don't mind the bad audio quality. I'm trying to figure out how to attach this mic to my computer and put it under the little thing. However, with that being said, this is going to be Journal 1, and this journal for today is going to be of 3D animation, right? Because we're creative directors, and the lens that we're looking through based on being this creative director is through 3D animation. And based on the day, we're looking at lighting. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Blender Guru, you know what I'm saying, for the tutorials and stuff like that. But I had some very interesting notes I wanted to take and kind of just, talk about based off of this one video, right? So from this video one, basically a rundown of it, he basically goes into explaining light and shadows. You know what I'm saying? One of the main things that is said is that the explanation of shadows is created by direction, right? Which kind of shows how humans still believe that light is a floating source, right? Because if it's coming from a direction, then there's either two things that could kind of create that, right? Either it's your geographic location, which actually is the case, but in some cases, even based on how some of these engines are built, like Blender, for example, you have these little floating light bulbs, which kind of subliminally shows how humans still believe that light is a floating source outside, which really it's not. You know what I'm saying? And so when we actually look at the real thing, shout out to Dolo the Pilot Man, Archangel Uriel, Flight Boss, you know what I'm saying? We know that the light is created based on fusion and friction. Light is something that is emitted. You know what I'm saying? The same way if I was to turn all the lights off in this house, you wouldn't really see anything, right? Because that lets you know what we're in. You know what I'm saying? We're in darkness, so you're not really going to see a lot. But that's an example to show you that light is something that is emitted, and it's not something that just kind of floats on its own and bounce off of other things. You know what I'm saying? So all them scientists that be saying stuff like that really just don't be knowing nothing. They just be kind of like saying things based off of what somebody else kind of told them, right? But aside from that, we know from flight school, you know what I'm saying, light is a product of fusion and friction between two high velocity forms or objects or angels, you know what I'm saying, which creates a sun, you know what I'm saying, which can only be created when two angels collide, aka atmospheres, aka the real stars, you know what I'm saying. And that's how our sun and daughter, aka moon, is what binds us and keeps us together as we experience an accumulation condensed version of me and you know what I'm saying, Uriel. So basically what that is saying is anytime we see light being emitted, it's two things coming together, and from that colliding, you know what I'm saying, in simpler terms, we're basically just sharing worlds. We're sharing our minds, and by coming in contact with each other through pressure, weight, volume, and speed, a star is born. You know what I'm saying? And that star, in simpler terms, is just a mind. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're all in a mind and things like that. However, besides the fact of that, when being in this space of trying to be being a creative director, you know what I'm saying, we got to make it simple, then go deep, because there's a lot of different aspects that seem to kind of play out in this space, where lighting is a big thing, composition is a big thing, what you're even trying to create is like those are all different things that you got to keep in mind when in this space of trying to create anything, whether you're trying to create a character design, objects, environments, all different kind of stuff. All this kind of plays a big part in that. And so from that, I wanted to keep it simple and actually look at what really is going on when you're being a creative director. And so thus the birth of this journal has come to part. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to be journal 1. You know what I'm saying? But continuing on from there, and the environment is a product of two high velocity objects, right? And so if you're, for instance, an artist or a musician or a sculptor, a playwright, anything that deals with, or even a chef, you know what I'm saying? Because a dish is an environment of itself too. You know what I'm saying? We all be playing out the same thing in our own atmosphere and things like that. So the same thing that we see bugs doing is the same thing we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like if you go outside at 6 a.m. every day, you start to see the animals do the same thing you're doing, just in their own micro version way of doing it, because that's just what they're privy to, being in that form. You know what I'm saying? Same thing the clouds is doing. You know what I'm saying? So we all be doing the same thing, but again, shout out to Uriel. It's not what you do, it's how you go about doing it. So from that, right, I came to the conclusion of, so instead of making a scene complex, make it simple first and then go deep. So if you're trying to create a scene or a character, you know what I'm saying, whether that character is the scene or the character looks like you and me, you know what I'm saying, you want to make it simple. You know what I'm saying? So what two things are you going to collide together, right? The furthest thought and the closest feeling. And this is before you even make the scene, right? What two things are you going to bring together to even show that? So that way you don't get lost in trying to make a scene and you're like, oh, I gotta have this thing in there, and I gotta have this tree right here, and I want the lighting to hit it. Like, no, just throw all that expectation energy out the door, all that anticipation energy out the door. Shout out to Sang Uno. He made a video on how to have pure intentions. You know what I'm saying? Let go of doing something, wanting something in return. You know what I'm saying? You should just do it because that's what you are. You do that because that's what you do. You know what I'm saying? But aside from that, right, going back to the topic, knowing the mechanism that of existence that we all do, which is closeness and distance, right? The furthest thought and the closest feeling, right? These will be the two things that you could bring together to create an environment. And so this is just my train of thought, right? If I was to create an environment, instead of trying to get lost in all of the details of it, why not put yourself in a space of making shit simple first and then going deep, taking that thought of the scene. So for an example, let's say you wanted to create a scene of an environment, right? Well, first of all, what kind of environment do you want to create? What's the furthest thought? You know what I'm saying? Is it something that's expressive? Is it going to show something? Does it represent maybe a certain area of your life or other things? You know what I'm saying? That those will be examples of distance, right? Those will be examples of the furthest thought, the border, the boundaries of that environment that you are getting ready to create, right? And then from there, how do you want, what's the feeling? You know what I'm saying? Because this is the feeling that you're going to have to show in that. People are going to have to see that. So now that you have those two things, now you can get into all the other stuff and making things simple and having these things in other areas, because it's basically just showing your furthest thought, the boundaries of it, and the closest feeling. Now, aside from that, the next journal, most likely I'm going to show the environment that I create, or something that I could make, because I got to put this to the test too. You know what I'm saying? These are just like going to be like my journals and stuff of each step of the way of me learning and forging this new skill of 3D design and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I already completed the Blender tutorial and stuff like that. Y'all gonna see the creation of that on my album, What a Man Can Earn. You know what I'm saying? And this next one, you know, he's gonna take it one step at a time. So right now I'm just going through these different things that he's basically going over. Lighting. This one he went over direction, because he gave 5 elements to good lighting, right? He said direction, size, color, readability, and emphasis. And I'm gonna make a journal on each one of them. So every time I look at a certain tutorial, that's where this journal is going to be, as a kind of like a blog, and logging each kind of phase and step of the way of me learning this new skill. But with that being said, I hope everybody who sees this has a wonderful rest of the day. Even if nobody sees this, just the energy of expression is all that was needed. Other than that, I'll see y'all in the next one.